Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. This is Dennis. I'm not going to be solo for a while more, but I am starting solo so as we can get things going. And as always, for a for a third day in a row now, which is something I'm very happy about to get to actually do three shows back to back. We're right back to the positives with uh, as perfect of a win as you can get in the Superleague against a club like that. A wonderful performance by most, if not all, of the players. A much needed +3. And in general, a much needed momentum boost as well. We'll get into the details in a few, but seeing the team bounce back, like to get into first thoughts and stuff, seeing the team bounce back after the not the performance fiasco, but the everything that happened with uh with Ike, seeing the team be completely unbothered in a game that has proven, I would say, could have proven tricky, but a game that has proven to be tricky in the past. And in this situation, a game that was must win, like there is no other way to really place it, no other way to really describe it. It was a must win game. And in the end, everyone showed up as they should with a little extra momentum gained ahead of a derby that always proves to be a pain. But we'll get into that. Moving through this schedule time, moving through this insanity in general. It's what I said in the last show, in the last few shows, that you need everyone to show up from the top of the rotation to the last person, to Mendilibar, to the fans. And I don't think that I could have put a better example out there to everyone showing up other than today. And there he is at the perfect time. Hello.
How's it going?
How are you, man? I was just getting through the first thoughts in general of how we bounced back, how we looked and stuff. Didn't really get into anything too specific yet. So do feel free to drop any first thoughts you may have about the game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was a nice bounce back. I mean, I think from what I saw on Sunday, which was very brief, I think we played better than the scoreline reflected. But that being said, bouncing back with a positive result in a place that has been tough to play. I mean, we played there earlier in the season. It was difficult. It's a place that Jose Luis Mendilibar has struggled to get results. So doing that midweek, having a rotated squad, getting to see some of the new guys, which I'm sure we'll talk about, it's all very positive signs. And then, again, another point I'm sure we'll get to as well that stood out to me is just, Mehdi Taremi continuing to be very productive and contribute a lot as, Ayub is coming back and getting reintegrated and finding his rhythm again.
What I was mostly alluding to is gonna lead to that eventually as well, is that with the schedule that we have, we need everybody to be on top. Not just the players, as I just said, but Mendilibar, his staff, and the fans. And going exactly to the point that you made, I feel like we've sort of overlooked that we have two main absences from the team right now. Of course, one being Lorenzo Pirola and the other one being Ayoub El Kabi. Both, hopefully, at the very least, will be back against Ghana. And that's because you have Mehdi Taremi that, if I'm not completely mistaken, now has matched Ayoub El Kabi in goals. I'm pretty sure that stands. And you have Julien Biancon, who, again, I said it in the last few shows as well, we've mostly sang the praises of Julien Biancon. But that's because he proves us right like 9 out of 10 times. Biancon, again, it's what I keep saying. He was never going to be a starter for us. But I don't think you can find a better solution in European football for a third/fourth choice defender that fits Mendilibar's style so well. So well. And everyone has their flaws in their game. Biancon knows his role. And he does it perfectly. Even when he needs to eventually step up as first and second choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes back to something we've talked about is just that mentality and the attitude that these players have. A lot of guys like Biancon, guys even like Taremi, as we've talked about during the season, being willing to embrace a role that potentially might not match up to what they could get somewhere else. Julien Biancon could go and start somewhere else in Europe very easily. He could start for a team competing in Europe. Same thing with Taremi. But that just, again, gets back to the point of the strength of the group. I think that's what has made this Olympiacos team so much different than what we've seen from Olympiacos in the past, and especially from Greek clubs in the past, is the fact that everyone's bought in. You don't have any questions for anybody on whether or not they know where they're supposed to be, they know what they're supposed to do, and that's why they're ready to step up when they need to. Getting back to Mehdi briefly to answer your question or your point that you were making, he actually has the same number of goal contributions this season as Ayoub. Ayoub has one more goal. Mehdi has one more assist. But I mean, again, in his first season, 19 goal contributions, and we're just barely into February for a guy who really didn't start playing very regularly for the Olympiacos until September, starting early October. That's huge. And again, that's why we've been able to really keep things running without skipping a beat, with having Ayoub out, with having the injuries, and that goes back to other players as well, like Biancon, like so many other players in the squad. So the fact that we are able to rotate so effectively and not see a major drop off in the quality of the execution and the product on the pitch, that's what's going to carry us forward, and that's why this team is really built to tackle these tough stretches. Even looking at some of the more disappointing parts of the season for Olympiacos, there really hasn't been long stretches of poor performances or poor results. Like they figure out a way to win because we have such a together group.
Yeah, it's there's been some ups and downs, of course, from the losses against PAOK on both Cup and League, that Kifissia draw and stuff like that. But as you said, it's been ups and downs. It's never been a stretch where you say, oh, this team is not good, like something needs to change. And again, it's exactly because of what you said. They sit down, they look at what's going wrong, and they fix it. And we'll get into it in more detail in a bit, as well as we slowly get into the game. But speaking of effective rotation, you have pieces even behind Biancon, even behind Taremi. And you saw, for example, Nascimento play today, which in my opinion, Nascimento played relatively well today. And Nascimento is what? He's technically Chiquinho's backup, but he's what? Our fifth So center back, center midfielder. But it's safe to say that he's our fifth choice in the midfield. And then you look at Taremi's backup, who debuted today and who almost scored not one but two bicycle kicks. Because someone made the comparison and it's been stuck in my head ever since then. Someone said that Clayton is a younger, more talented Tiquinho. And I can't unsee it because the man came in on a random Wednesday night against Asteras and almost had 2 goals of the season and didn't stop running for a millisecond, it felt like. And adding to that, the chemistry with Andre Luis, you saw him even more confident in his. I mean, tell me one person that on debut, right in front of goal, would flick the ball up and go for a bicycle. No one. No one has done that for Olympiacos in the past, God knows how many years, on debut. And going back to my previous point to finish up this whole rotation talk, Kalogeropoulos came in. And you couldn't see that Raichos got subbed off after a certain point. And that's exactly the point that I've been making about Kalogeropoulos as well, that you have a backup that's fourth choice, technically, that can come in most Superleague games and start easily. I said this earlier, and I don't think it's as much of an over-exaggeration as I thought it was originally. I feel like we're one center back away in the next few days to be able to look at the most quality field Olympiacos roster we have, at least in the past 5 years. Not best necessarily, we'll see how that goes, but most quality field, especially depth-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think it's definitely up there with some of the Olympiacos squads that we've had in general. And one of the things that I want to get back to is we talk about these players that have come in and just really seem like they've slotted in. There's been a lot of criticism lately of Jose Luis Mendilibar and how picky he is with transfers. I've seen a lot of big accounts, big Olympiacos accounts getting on here and just frying the man because he doesn't want to accept all these players that are being thrown his way. We're seeing the product of it, right? I mean, we've had people saying that we need this, that, and the other. We need 4 or 5 different players. We bring 2 players in, 2 players who probably, other than Andre Luis was at the top of a lot of people's list, but Clayton was not. I mean, he was obviously an attractive prospect, but I don't think anybody was saying that he was top of the list. He's not bringing in a bunch of players. He's bringing in the right players. He's bringing in the right players that fit his system. He's bringing in the right players who have the mindset and the mentality that he demands and that this group demands. We've seen Olympiacos go out and sign 15 players in a window. That has not worked before. What we're doing right now is so much more thoughtful and methodical, and it is working. So I just wanted to point that out because I've seen the criticism, and I hope that when these same accounts are going to come out and praise these signings and be doing these player profiles and talking about how great things are going, I hope they remember what they were saying last week or the week before this entire transfer window about how Mendilibar needs to be under pressure and this, that. We're beyond the point of being able to question this guy. Trust in the process, trust in Mendilibar. So, I mean, in general, you nailed it on the head as far as just being able to dig deep in the squad and not see a drop-off. There's a reason for that. And the reason for that is these players were picked for not even talent as the first criteria. there could have been more talented players than Nascimento. There could have been more talented players than Clayton that we probably could have gone and gotten. But that doesn't mean they were the best player for Olympiacos. And I think that's the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway from seeing some of these newer players or deeper roster guys come in and just look flawless. Same thing with Scipione the past couple weeks. He's a player that how many times have we seen people question him and why we brought him in and what his role is going to be? He was ready when we needed him multiple times. So again, I think when we talk about these positives, and that's absolutely what they are, I really do want to point out some of the hot takes I see and listen, there's no room for questioning. It's proven. It's continuing to work. This team is having the season it's being as consistently competitive as it is in Europe, domestically, in general, because of how things are done and how they're built. And that does not mean signing a billion players and just filling every squad hole with a bunch of bodies. The way we're doing things right now is the way I would rather do it.
I feel like in 140 episodes, which you've probably been in 130 of them, this is the first time you take my role in that rant that you just nailed right on the head, and I couldn't agree more with word for God than word. Now, slowly getting into the game, and something that I personally thought was very positive, given as we both said earlier on that Asteras away has been a game, even sometimes Asteras at home has been a game. It's this. We scored. And we didn't just score, we scored with absolute ease. And if it wasn't for Zidotas, it would have probably been 5. It would have probably been 5. Everyone was on the top of their game. Everyone, with some people being further up than others, which again we'll get into, but everyone wanted to go at it. I can name probably, let me actually check the stats so I'm sure I don't over exaggerate. Yeah, we had 20 shots and 5 big chances, which is way more than we've had in a minute against teams that just sit back and refuse to play football. But yeah, Danny alone had 2 shots on target. He created 4 big chances. Taremi had 3. Yazici had 1. Retsos had 1, and so on and so forth. Of course, Zelson, the goal that Zelson somehow got, which is, it's the first time in a while, against these teams specifically, I'm not speaking about in general, that I've seen us completely tear apart their play style. And I'm going to segue perfectly into my main point and where I'm going with this. This man is the reason. There is no other main reason than this man. We finally, easily, I don't think there is any doubt that this was Danny's best performance ever since coming back. We finally saw the Danny that will step up and will not only go ahead and beat his man and shoot 1 from 30 meters out that should have gone in. But we're seeing a Danny that's creating, that's breaking apart these 6-man defensive lines. And a Danny that should have gotten more than 1 assist, but got an assist to his name to take credit for his performance today. Almost scored, as I said, had 4 big chances. And if you have one player like that, which I'll die on the hill that there is 2 players on this team that are built for this league and to break these teams, and that's Danny Podence and Yusuf Yazici, and you saw both of them do it today, you'll never have a problem in the league. And the main thing in looking at everything is that, PAOK have a game less but we're comfortably on top again, where we belong, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think your point on Odense, like that's something that stood out to me, and that I think is going to be important, as this season progresses and as his career progresses with Olympiacos. We know Danny Podense is a guy who can be that aggressive winger, who can take players on, who can be a problem out wide. The issue now is that we have multiple of those players where in past years he was that guy. I would say at this point, he's probably not the best option we have for that role on this roster. But we know he also has that creative ability. And I think that is going to be the evolution of his game that is going to see his career extend, because he's getting, he's 29 now. He's late 20s. He's getting to a point where that athleticism and that explosiveness is going to leave him. That's going to happen. The way that he can continue to be an important player for Olympiacos or for any team in general as he continues his career, if it's not with us, is going to be being a creator. It's going to be his technique. It's going to be his vision. It's going to be his ability to move with and without the ball to create space for the people around him. And, like you said, that was one of the biggest things that stood up today, especially when you have Zosan playing, you had Andre Luis playing, right? He's able to set back for those guys and let them take that role because he still has more to offer in that sense. So that's a similar role, like you said, with Yazidze. That's something that we've missed since Kostas Fortounis left. So having multiple guys who can step in and fill that role, that's going to be important. And I think we're at a point right now, especially with the way that Dani's season has gone, he's probably not going to be a first-choice winger for the Olympiacos. But seeing what we've seen this season with some players having injury issues like Chiquinho, having a guy who can play the 10 reliably and be as productive and dangerous as he was today, for example, that's going to open up opportunities for him to work his way back to the consistent level of form that we know from him. So, I mean, again, that also goes back to the mentality, because he's another guy who could very easily have put his head down this entire season. This has been a very frustrating season for Dani Potense, but he hasn't. He gets called upon on a random Wednesday in a piece of shit stadium, and he turns up. That's the kind of player that we have in the squad from top to bottom. And when you're stars and you're guys who are here on a large salary, when they're able to buy into that, your fifth choice center mid is also going to buy into that. Your fourth choice center back is also going to buy into that. So it's infectious. And, again, seeing that from the top is just huge. And we know that he has a ton to offer in that aspect, which is not necessarily what his role has been for us, but it's what we need right now. So him feeling that is huge for us.
It's what should have been happening. Let's be honest, it's what should have been happening. But it goes back to what you said, spot on again. He's been unlucky with injuries. He's had a few bad games and this and that, but he worked back to it. And it's exactly as you said it, got called upon on a random Wednesday and balled out only like Dani can ball out against this team. And hopefully, given he stays healthy, this can be used as not necessarily as a wake-up call, but as a turning point. And with now a way more reliable and threatening in a similar way Andre Luis behind him, and in the worst of cases, Yusuf Yazidze, his time can be managed in a way where he actually can stay healthy and he actually can work his way back to the Dani Podence we all know and love. Now, whether that will be at the left wing or at the 10, as you said, because he can easily do both, that's up to Mendilibar. But to close off the Dani chapter and get into the goals in general, this is a man that needs to stay at Olympiacos. Because this is a man that can give a lot, no matter the time he plays. And this is a man that can and that will accept any role in the team. Because you can't sit in front of my face and tell me that Danny Podence won't accept coming off the bench. Because he will.
He knows what the club is. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. If you look up and down this roster, the guys who know better than anyone what this club means and what it means to wear the shirt and fight for Olympiacos, Danny Podence is one of those guys. It would be him. It would be Retsos. And I would say, honestly, the academy kids. We do have a few other guys, obviously, Ayubi Boktabi and Chiquinho, who've been around for a few years now. But in terms of tenure, I believe Danny Podence is second behind the Retsos in terms of time spent here. So, I mean, that familiarity and just understanding the importance of the club, that's hugely important. And that's where you see it, that just difference in mentality that you see from the Greek players or from the academy players. It's that recognition, and you can tell that he knows what it means.
I mean, you have guys, I think that's a bit unfair on some guys to like Rodi, like as you said, Chiquinho, like Alcabe. I mean, hell, Yusuf Yazici was singing Thrille Ole while he was getting warmed up. Like, this guy loves the club, and we'll get into a very quick transfer talk towards the end after we're done with the game. But I just want to say that I'm so happy that loan move broke down. I am so happy that we get to keep Yazici, and hopefully, because it seems like he is playing more and more again, hopefully we get the news tomorrow that he is a part of our Champions League squad. We'll see how that goes, given if and who else comes in. But hopefully, because he's earned it, in my opinion, I actually want you to check something, because I wanted to check it ever since last episode, but I forgot. Is Scipioni on the list? Because I don't remember.
Well, he had to be, because he played against Ajax.
He played against Ajax. Yeah, fair enough. My brain just got completely stuck, because I was gonna say if anyone deserves it as much as Yazici, it is Scipioni, but he played against Ajax.
In 4 days, we can forgive you.
Yeah. That's fine. It's not the first blunder that I've made. But yeah, I don't think there is anyone. I've seen some people like say some things. Like, perhaps Yazici shouldn't be a starter here because he doesn't deserve to be. Like, Yazici can easily start for half of Europe. But with how Mendy is playing, he's so much more effective coming off the bench. He kills it coming off the bench.
I mean, it's similar with Mehdi. I mean, obviously, we've seen that he can start and be super effective. He started today and was super effective. But when you have these players who, again, Mendilibar plays a high pressing style. So it's obviously going to be difficult for players like Taremi, like Yazici, who are they're not the quickest. They're not going to be running up and down. They can, both of them do and can run, but like, it's going to be more effective to have, players like Zelson, players like El Kabi starting over those guys, because they fit the mold better. But it's also, like you've said a bunch, it's that clutch gene. I mean, they both have it. They're two guys who, they don't need 90 minutes to give you a goal. They can get you a goal in 90 minutes. They can get you 2 goal contributions in 90 minutes, but they can also get you one in 15. So that's, again, I think a lot of people will see that. And, we've had a lot of, like the Iranian fans earlier in the season were upset that Taremi wasn't starting. It's like, well, this does get the best out of him at times, and he's one of the few players on the squad that can come in and give us that off the bench. So, that's not any sort of an insult or a knock on those guys. It's a compliment. The fact that they are so talented that they can do in 30 minutes what, a starter could maybe do in 60 or 70. you know, that's a huge nod to both of those players and the talent they possess.
I mean, moving fully on to Taremi, God, I think some of the Iranian fans are still very mad at me, but that's not the point, nor the time. I was overly critical of him, and I've said this last show. But it's not clutch, Gene. It's exactly how you said it. There is a difference between a Taremi that needs to start. Not that he wasn't effective today. He has an amazing chemistry with Danny Podence, which I didn't really. I mean, I knew they're friends, but I didn't really expect that duo to just show up and show off on a random Ash Wednesday. But that's besides the point. But Danny Podence is one of the main reasons that Taremi was a steady force for the entire game. But in other times, we've seen him coming for Ayoub El Kabi as he's found his confidence again. And like, as you said, not even give an assist and a goal in 30 minutes. And with Ayoub slowly coming back, and the games we have, I feel like Taremi is in a perfect place right now because he knows he'll drop back to a role he seems to be way more comfortable with, which gives him a lot of confidence as well. He now knows that he has someone behind him that's not only fit and reliable, but that's come here with a passion, as I said, that's very rarely there with people that played one game. And he has, again, someone in front of him now that he'll eventually just be behind and cover, not necessarily have to be the front force of the team. Which leads me to another point, because we have to talk about Panathinaikos eventually. It's the game coming up. I think there is two risks that I think Mendy may take. I don't think Ayoub starts. I think he'll play, but I don't think Ayoub starts. I don't know if he'll start Taremi, or if he will throw Clayton into the deep end and start Taremi behind him. I'm happy with both. I can, from what we've been seeing and what we saw, I'm happy with both. And since we're talking about them more and more, I think the more realistic scenario is Taremi starts up front and Clayton comes in and Taremi either drops back or goes off. But I think Andre Luis can get the start, or can at the very least get a major amount of minutes against Pana. And with how Pana played today, because that was a year.
Yeah. Seen the score. Let me look at this.
It was a Giacomakis penalty, and that's all that happened in the game. And I've said this, either Olympiacos or OLY may very genuinely win the cup this season. If it doesn't get given to PAOK, OLY or Olympiacos may very genuinely win the cup.
They had 6 shots.
They had 6. And I don't even think, I think like half of them were in target. I'm not that sure about that.
They had 2 shots.
Yeah, 2, not even a half. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And you're telling me that you have Danny Podence back with motivation, and behind him, if he doesn't start, come on, what a dilemma to have. You either start Danny Podence or Andre Luis against, who's their left back?
Oh my God, let me look. Kyriakopoulos. I mean,
no, it's the right back. I'm sorry, it's left wings. Like, of course, it's the right back.
Calabria. Both of those fullbacks can't run.
Slow.
Both of those guys. And Calabria likes to play center mid. He doesn't like to play right back.
Yeah, and you have someone that can just drop Calabria on his ass, and you have someone that's, I'm pretty sure, like 10, 20 centimeters taller than Calabria, because that's exactly one of the main positives that I wanted to point out in regards to Andre Luis. Like, the guy is very fast, but he's tall. He's big. He towers over Zelson, which is insane. You have... This is gonna sound bad, but you have the physicality and the speed of Bruno into an actually talented player, which is, for a winger especially, like someone that can body a fullback. Let's not. Andre Luis is destroying Calabria. Like, that's not my problem with Panathinaikos. And adding to that, the chemistry that he has with Clayton, that, as I said earlier, gives both of them way more confidence in having a familiar face from day zero here. And with the passion that both of them have. I mean, Clayton, yeah, he didn't have time to get an actual contribution today. Andre Luis already technically has an assist. It's exactly, it goes back to what you said. It's the perfect players. It's the perfect players. I don't care, because that was an argument. Of course, I would find a way to go back to that rant. Who cares if they're from Rio Ave, man? Like, come on. Who cares?
There's a reason why Benfica wanted Andre Luis. I mean,
both of them.
That's one of the best talent acquisition clubs in the world. Benfica are known for finding gems and then turning them around and selling them for 100 million euros.
I mean, Benfica wanted Nascimento as well. That's another point to prove yours.
I mean, you look at the competition we have for players now. I mean, we're not competing with, Dinamo Zagreb for guys or Zenit. Like, now we're competing with Benfica and Porto and like clubs in Italy.
Benfica, Porto, Bayern, Fiorentina, Lazio, City up to a point.
I mean, those are our peers now in the transfer market. That says something. So again, and that goes back to as well. I mean, when you're competing with these bigger teams now, you're going to be signing less of these players. It's not even just Mendilibar being picky. You also have stiffer competition now. Now, granted, I think we have been picky in a good way by not bringing in a bunch of guys that we are not certain will fit in. But there's a reason for that. So, I mean, that it's another level there as well. And, like you said, I think the biggest thing with both of them is the physicality they bring. I mean, like you said with Andre Luis, he's built like Taremi. Taremi's a center forward. We have a winger who's damn near 1.90 m. That says something. Clayton as well. I mean, that was one of the biggest things today with him. Like you said, he didn't get on the score sheet, but one of the things that stood out with him is his movement and his physicality and the way that he occupied center backs. That's one of the things I was talking to you about this earlier. Obviously, we hope that there's no end in sight for Ayoub El-Kaabi with Olympiacos, but a smart club thinks about these things going forward. And that is one of Ayoub's biggest things, is his movement, is his physicality. It's the way that he can physically take defenders out of a game. Granted, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We've seen Clayton play for 30 minutes. But he showed glimpses of that. So there's a lot of potential there for this guy to be a long-term solution for us if things work out. That goes back to talent acquisition. That goes back to being picky and picking the right guys, because you're not only bringing in a need that we have, you're bringing in a guy who can be a long-term solution. We're not signing guys who are 33. He's 27. He's in that perfect sweet spot where he's not young enough that we're going to have to sell him to a big club in 2 years, but he's not old enough that he still has a lot of time left. So, I mean, I think both of those guys and just a lot of the intangibles they have, really exciting. And it's how you fill out a squad without signing a bunch of players. It's signing multifaceted players who bring more than one benefit and check off more than one box.
And to strengthen your point in a way, like, okay, Nascimento still needs time, but he can get time against these clubs. He can play in the league, like with mid-table clubs, lower league. It's not like he can. It's not like he can't play in general. Out of everyone that we brought in, one player, well, no, two players didn't work out. It looked like more, but Nascimento just molded into his rotational role. Scipione is damn near a starter now in the big games. And again, for the Brazilian boys, they already are more than reliable, and one's played 30 minutes. And the others played like 50, maybe 60. I don't remember how much he played against Hayek. I really don't. Maybe he played 5, 10. Like that game was so messy that I don't really remember times.
He played 5 to 10 minutes of stoppage time alone.
Yeah, he played 11 minutes of stoppage time alone. It's props to everyone. But it's mostly props. It goes back to him because it always does. It's mostly props to Mendilibar. Because he's staying in his style. He stays true to he's live or die by the sword. Like we play Volos and we attack, and we play Real Madrid and we attack. And he took a risk on one player. And that one player that he took a risk on, that's outside his style, has 6 goals and 6 assists. And that's Yusuf Yazici. Okay, Strefezza didn't work out. If Parma stay up, he'll probably go to Parma on a permanent. Mansa didn't work out. He has a chance to develop and come back. If not, he'll stay at Rio Ave. Everyone else, and not just from this year. I go back last year. I'm not gonna say go back to the conference year because he brought no one. Go back last year. Everyone was writing off. I'll speak on him for a bit because I said a lot already and I want to say more. Yaremchuk. Everyone wrote him off until January, like saying, who did we bring in? Old West, this and that, and this and that. Got us, along with Zolakis, got us Champions League this season. Like those two got us Champions League alone. Just like Zelson got us knockouts this season. Those two are the main reasons we even had Champions League. Proved to be crucial in derby, proved to be crucial in the cup, scored one of the most ridiculous goals in both the best and worst way I've seen against Panathinaikos, that goddamn Dragowski goal that reminded me of 2018 Loris Karius. And I'm pretty sure that that's the goal that started the whole Dragowski downfall that sent him to God knows where he's at now, like mid-table Poland back home. he felt underappreciated. And I spoke on that, but since we ran into this topic, I want to hear your point of view as well. He felt underappreciated, which fair. Some people went after him for the message. I said that I'm not going to, because he didn't really say anything. He just spoke his mind, and who am I if not being for speaking your mind no matter what happens? And I said that I understand both sides, because the 6 months, going back to the perfect player as well, the 6 months that Yaremchuk had ending last season were perfect. He was on par with El Khabi. But in comes Taremi. That's on par with El Khabi from day one. And at the same time, Yaremchuk gets hurt for a while. He was out for he came back in October, I'm pretty sure, early October. He missed a whole month of the season, which coincided into him being stuck as a third choice. Yaremchuk is gonna kill it in Lyon, I'm sure, if he stays healthy. But how Mendilibar treated everything was the right thing. He'll always be remembered as a legend here, but it was unfortunate circumstances for him, stability for the club. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think both sides of it are right. I think that he was underappreciated. And granted, the way he worded that message, I don't think he left any room for anyone to criticize him, because he said in the same breath of him feeling underappreciated that he believes this club deserves the best and that the fans deserve the best. Both of those things can be true. I think nobody can question that every time he played for us, he gave everything he had. Nobody can question that he had a bad attitude. He probably felt underappreciated last season. That didn't stop him from going on and giving us an incredible stretch as a backup striker. But that's him saying that he feels underappreciated. That's not anything against the club. I don't think that's anything against the fans. I think that's a truth of the sport. Bringing Taremi in was brutal. It was necessary, but it was brutal. That's how the game goes. We needed more depth. Obviously, he ended up getting injured. We also had a more strenuous European campaign that we had to balance. That's the ugly reality of football sometimes. But regardless of that, he always let his play do the talking rather than going out in the media or this, that, and the other. He's absolutely a player who will be remembered nothing but fondly. And I think it's a very fair and reasonable message from him. I read that and I didn't take that any sort of negative way. I'm certain he will go kill it at Lyon. I watched some of the Pout game last week. They had a 17-year-old striker scoring goals, so I have no doubt that Roman Yaremchuk is going to go in and just absolutely bang them in. But yeah, he's a player because he's on loan, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he hopefully will be back. He's a player that I would love to see for us next season if we have a spot for him. But if we don't, again, he's already solidified his legacy and proven himself as being Olympiacos, and that's nothing that will ever be questioned. And his contributions, like you said, him, I would also say Mouzakitis, because he got both the assists in that game. Him, Mouzakitis, and Solakis. Those are the three guys. When we were at our worst, we didn't have El Khabi. We were 4-0 down on aggregate, and those guys swooped in. That says a lot. He contributed on the same lines. Back to my point earlier about how a lot of times you don't get those contributions and that sort of passion from guys who aren't as familiar with the club. He was chipping in and fighting just as hard as two born and bred Olympiacos players. That right there says a a ton about him and the character that he is and what he brought to this club in a year and a half being here.
You got to the point I was going to get to. He's on loan. His loan fee was 1.5 million, which covers basically his entire transfer fee, and the buyout option is 5 million. So we're talking about a deal that's win-win for both parties. We are net neutral right now in regards to the Yaremchuk transfer, basically. Like it's a few thousand. So either he finds form, plays as a regular starter, and comes back as probably second choice, because I'm not gonna even hold I'm pretty sure that Tarem is not gonna be here next year. I think that's the signs are there for that and have been there. I don't know if he'll be at Nottingham. I don't know if he'll go to Saudi, but I don't think he'll be here next year. So either that happens, or we get an extra 5 million on top of that. He's, I would say, in one of the top 5 leagues in the world. I'll say top 6 because I'm not sure what France is.
It's absolutely top 5 right now. Defending Champions League title holders, first in the Europa League, first in the Conference League. Absolutely a top 5 league.
Yeah, Lyon are first, I forgot. Yeah, and then you have fair. Even though Portugal are doing well as well. But yeah, top 5 for sure. And he'll be a factor there. He'll definitely be a factor in. Maybe they'll go on to win the Europa League. Who knows? Who knows? Like they easily. I've said this from the start of the season. It's either them or Villa. I don't think it will be anybody else. It's either them or Villa. But yeah, that's a win-win deal. And another win-win deal that's happened is Trefecha. Because we got rid of a passport. I'm not going to say we got rid of a player like Strefecha. Strefecha wasn't a bum. Like he wasn't useless. He had assists. He just wasn't up to.
He had assists against Real Madrid. I mean, that's another point I want to make as far as like talking about our flops this season. One of our flops is getting goal contributions against the biggest team on planet Earth. I mean, what does that say?
Yeah, exactly. And he either finds his confidence in a league that he's comfortable in and comes back next season, or we negotiate from scratch, because I think it's smart from both sides. It's smart from Parma as well to not really set a buyout clause, because it would have been mandatory if it was set. And probably get at least most of our money back. We won't have another BL. That's my main point. We won't have another Pep BL. Once I said what I said, honestly, and I really feel like I'm forgetting someone. Am I? Or is that all the moves that we've done?
Cabela.
Christ, that's a whole different story. I forgot that happened.
I mean, he played all of 5 games for us. I mean, I think that was one we knew from the start was going to be either a big hit or a big miss. I think the biggest issue with him is he just didn't have legs anymore. I mean, the guy couldn't run, is what it is.
Yeah, he could have never played. He's not washed. He scored. I don't know what he's done since then, but he scored on debut. Like, let's not. He's still a very, very good player. But he was never going to work here, not under Mendilibar, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. Stuff happens. That's not even a scouting mistake. That was a risk that just didn't pay off. And as someone said that I agree with, it's 4 years too late for the transfer. But yeah, Athanasiou is gonna be sold to Athanasiou's back, gonna be sold to Olympiacos. That hopefully, as mentioned earlier today, I'm quoting Gazeta, don't shoot me in the comments. Hopefully, this will put us in pole position to sign Tsapras in the summer, where we are probably going to be with one right back if stuff goes as it's looking right now. And if we can also use an asset like Athanasiou that didn't really work out at Rio Ave either, probably Mendy doesn't want him, to get one of the brightest talents in the right back position, which is a position that Greece hasn't done well in the past few years. One of the brightest talents in the right back position that we've seen in a while. Mind you, Tsapras has 7 assists for Olympiacos this season. He has 7 assists. Right back, again. For me, that's a club positive as well. Like, if we move our failed assets in a way to bring someone better, to constantly upgrade, whether that's academy, whether that's through scouting, whether that's Greek talents, which I'm so happy. It's technically transfer, so I'll get into it. This show has been running for almost 2 years now, like a month minus. I've been yelling about ever since January of before Mendelebar coming in, ever since this show started. We need to be like Bayern. Grab talent. No one's going to say no to playing for Olympiacos. Grab talent. And what we've done from the summer to now, and I mean, you're the one that's been hearing the most about it because I have someone new to talk about on the daily. I mean, we signed a 16-year-old. Like, when has Olympiacos signed a 16-year-old? Like, the kid's amazing. He balled out 4 Panserikos on his debut, holding the record as, of course, for the youngest player to debut in the Greek Superleague at almost 16, not even 16. He's 16 now, but he was like 15 and something. We have Petros Kolokotronis, who's been amazing for the under-19s. You have Eric Hamza, who, again, in my opinion, those don't need to get time with the men's team. They need to. I mean, there is a reason that Atletico Madrid came in interested for Petros Kolokotronis. There is a reason for that. Like, even the B team has some amazing talents. Like, you brought in Milicic, who I like a lot, who is another massive defensive asset when needed. You have Yatsikouras, you have Pneummonidis, you have an endless list of names from the B team to the under 17s that can come up and help you immediately. And that goes back to what we said, that Olympiacos is working like a perfectly oiled machine. And that's thanks to the man at the helm, because he even brought in a B team coach that got to the B team after getting 2 wins in 8 under Pito. They got in the playoffs under Moreno, and Moreno is basically mini Mendilibar. He's learned from Mendilibar. He was a player for Mendilibar at the end of his career. And there's not much more to ask, honestly.
No, I mean, you're building a pipeline, like you just said. It's not just the players; it's your coaches as well. And the fact that we are actually dabbling in buying young players, like you said, that's what the big clubs do. It's low risk, high reward, because you're not paying a lot for these guys. And if they don't work out, they don't work out, and you can easily flip them. But if they do work out, you could be finding your next Muzakitis or Kostulas or whoever it is, and that either turns into a major sell for the club or that becomes a first-team player. But it's part of the revolution of Olympiacos, the fact that we have a B team now. How many years did we just not even have that? What big club in Europe doesn't have a B team?
I mean, we did have it, but we used it as a dumpster for failed talent. And not like it was meant to be used.
Yeah, well, I mean, that too, but I mean, there was a long time where we just straight up did not have a B team. But like you said, it's not even just about having it. It is about using it correctly. And rather than having 7,000 players out on loan, we can have them here where we can be managing their development rather than whoever the hell in whatever league, in whatever country, with whatever facilities or whatever it is. I mean, being able to keep that in-house, they're also getting to train with the first-team players and learn from these guys. So everything is just set up so much better now than it has been in the past. And that's why we're seeing those strides that this club is taking. And it's going to continue to pan out. And that's why, again, getting back to the point that both of us have been making for a long time is we need to trust in guys like Mendilibar, because when has he ever let us wrong in a major way? He's not perfect, but the guy knows what he's doing.
No one is. But he's as close to perfect as we've gotten for a coach in literally our history. Literally. And as reactionary as the fan base can be, he's the first coach. Like, that didn't even happen. Neither of us really saw a lot of Valverde, like we were children. I've never seen, like, not even with Mitchell, not even with Pedro. He's even managed to tone down, like, the explosiveness of the fan base. He's even managed to tone down, like, the chaos that goes on after losses and stuff. Like, of course, it's the Greek way for it to just sneak in. But it's nothing compared to what it was. Because there is hope. There is a vision here. There has been in the last 2 years. And again, it's not only Mendilibar, it's his staff as well, it's everyone. But it all starts from Mendilibar. Because I'll use the phrase to slowly close off, like talk about the next few games for a bit and then close up. Like, Valverde wrote the book, but Mendilibar added the golden pages. Like, that phrase has stuck with me, and that phrase is so correct. It's as correct as it gets. And God, at the next games, something like Pan at home, Olympiacos away, and then Leverkusen at home. Christ. We play, I've said this for the past few episodes, we play our season. We play our season, and we'll be playing our season in the next few months. Like, there is how many games are left for the playoffs? Like, is it double digits? I don't even know if it is.
So no, we have 7 matches left in the league.
Yeah. It's 7 matches in the regular and the Champions League, of course. As insane as this sounds, you can't lose until the playoffs. You need to keep winning. Like, okay, the Champions League, I've said it when I talked about the opponents, you said it as well. We can get to the round of 16 if we play like Olympiacos, with Clayton now, with Andre Luis, with hopefully one more man coming in. We can get to the round of 16. Then, as much as I want to say, I don't find it impossible qualifying, because with Mendilibar, again, this is a point for Mendilibar as well. We can believe the most outrageous stuff that would have seemed impossible, like even jokingly, like saying we made them some outside chance that we get to the quarters. There is an outside chance that we get to the quarter. And there really is, under my delivery. But again, we can get to the round of 16. I wholeheartedly believe that. But you need to keep winning in the league as well. Because ultimately, as much as Europe will be pushed, and as it should be, you need to win the league. You need to win the league to get Champions League again. The league is always the main goal, of course, but it also gives you direct qualification again, which hopefully sets you up for an even better year than this one, because you'll be way more prepared than you were this year. So everyone needs to show up. Everyone. Any final thoughts for the games coming up, for what we saw today, what we talked about?
No, I mean, I think we had the same conversation last year as kind of like a deja vu moment where the season is probably going to be decided in February. These matches to close out the regular season, like you said, are hugely important. We're obviously going to find out our European fate, whether we're going to continue playing into March or not. So, I mean, it's the perfect time for everyone to be hitting stride like they are. But it's going to be very difficult. I mean, even the match against Olympiacos, I mean, being that it's an away match, that might be the most difficult out of this next three. And that's not even silly talk like that. That is a real team. And that can be a difficult place to play, not necessarily because of the atmosphere, but because of just the pitch itself.
I mean, not necessarily the pitch even. Like, it's the pitch combined with the team that's unironically playing the best football in the league this season. And I'm pretty sure they're still the best attack. I think they've kept that up, if not their top two. And it's a team that
they are by a ways. They've scored 6 more goals than PAOK. They've scored 9 more goals than us.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Insane. They've scored 47 goals in 19 matches. Olympiacos. That's ridiculous.
They've scored 6 this season. They put 6 past. I'm pretty sure they put 6 past either Panetolikos or AEL. I don't remember, because them and Volo scored 5 and 6 on the same match day, which is crazy.
I mean, imagine if Burnley next season are 5th in the Premier League with 60 goals scored after 22 matches. That's what we're talking about. It's wild.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've said it. I both hope and think that they'll hold on to top 4. And it's the team that's given us, except from PAOK, which is self-evident reason. It's the team that's given us the most trouble in the league, especially at home. We had to literally give it all to beat Olympiacos, even through the chaos that the game had. So yeah, it's not insane to say that it's going to be the hardest game at all. Like, that's for sure. But yeah, I think we can slowly but surely close out. I mean, an hour and 10 for what we had to talk about and what we said is insane. So, as always, thank you all, whether you watched now, whether you watch after. Thank you all for the support, of course. As I've been saying, the show has been going through some chaos with all the stuff that's been happening, but you've all showed up more than ever. Tomorrow, we're going to cover, of course, the European list, but I don't think that there will be a 4th back-to-back. So I'll personally see you all Friday night for basketball, and we'll probably together see you all on Sunday night, hopefully. So as always, thank you all. See you in the next one.